What started as a promising first date on Thanksgiving Eve ended in unimaginable tragedy. Leslie Reeves and Chris Smith thought they were just going to have a fun night, but lurking in the shadows was a danger they never saw coming. Welcome back to Chilling Fireside Stories. Before we dive in, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you for your incredible support. Your likes, comments, and subscriptions mean the world to me and help keep this channel going strong. Please be aware that this video contains sensitive content that may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Now grab a warm drink and let's begin. Leslie Jane, born on June 26, 1976 in Missouri, was a vibrant soul who loved dancing, traveling, and had a passion for life. She held a bachelor's degree in engineering from the University of Missouri-Rolla and a master's from the University of Kansas. As a devoted mother to two sons, Leslie made her home in Troy, Illinois, near St. Louis. She founded All You Studio and Party Place, a unique blend of fitness and party planning. Women's safety was her passion. Leslie taught self-defense and concealed carry classes, led weekly yoga sessions that doubled as support groups for domestic violence victims, and delivered impactful speeches on women's safety. Known for her warm, bubbly, and generous nature, she was deeply cherished by her community. Leslie had only recently broken up with her ex-boyfriend, Bobby Tarr. Their relationship had been tumultuous with periods of dating on and off. Leslie had finally decided to end things for good, but Bobby struggled to accept her decision. She suspected that Bobby was stalking her and had told her friends she needed to cut all contact with him. On November 2021, Leslie, then 45, ventured into the world of online dating. She connected with 48-year-old Chris Smith from Farmersville, Illinois, an hour away. Chris, a divorced father and pool contractor, also sang in a rock band. Known for his generous spirit, Chris donated pumpkins to local children for painting and carving, enjoying a simple yet fulfilling life in the small town of Farmersville with his dog, Tiki. He had a close bond with his mom and sister. After exchanging messages for a week and a half, Leslie and Chris planned to meet for their first date on November 24th, the night before Thanksgiving. Chris had a nagging feeling he should cancel the date, but a voice in his head reminded him that a friend was performing at a local bar that night. Being a singer himself, Chris wanted to support his friend, so he decided to go ahead with the plans. That evening, Leslie drove her van to Farmersville, meeting Chris at the Uptown Saloon to enjoy the live performance. Leslie was cautious, following all the right steps when meeting someone from online. She made sure her family and friends knew Chris's name, their destination, and even shared his address with them. Throughout the night, she kept her friend Nanette updated via text messages. As midnight approached on Thanksgiving Day, Chris and Leslie were having such a good time that they decided to continue the evening at Chris's house. They popped a frozen pizza into the oven and chatted in the kitchen. However, when Nanette woke up the next morning, she felt a surge of worry. There were no texts from Leslie about how the evening had ended. Concerned, Nanette tried to contact Leslie but got no response. Fearing the worst, she called the police.
Hi, I'm gravely concerned about my friend. Can someone do a welfare check?
Nanette's worry grew unbearable, so she decided to drive to Farmersville herself. She parked in front of Chris's house, where Chris's 16-year-old neighbor noticed her and approached. The neighbor asked if she was there for Chris, and Nanette explained she was checking on her friend. The neighbor walked up to Chris's back door and immediately saw the broken glass. As she got closer, she saw Chris lying on the kitchen floor in a pool of blood and quickly called 911.
Door and the back window shattered and there's a body and there's a foot I saw on the floor. I'm only 16. I can't deal with this.
EMT Dennis Hobson was the first to arrive at the scene. In this small town, he knew Chris well. He found Chris lying in a fetal position, shot in the head and barely clinging to life. Chris's loyal dog, Tiki, was curled up next to him. Dennis shook Chris and screamed his name 3 times. Chris gasped and said, "Denny, I'm freezing." Dennis then discovered Leslie lying on the living room floor near the Christmas tree. She had suffered a severe injury and was no longer alive. Urgently, Dennis called for more help, saying, "Give me some help, I got one alive and one not responding." Police and additional medics rushed to the scene. Chris was in critical condition. It was later estimated that Chris and Leslie had been injured around 1 a.m., meaning Chris had been lying on the floor for 14 hours, losing a significant amount of blood. The only reason he was still alive was likely due to the broken glass in the door, which let in cold air, lowering his body temperature and slowing the blood loss. They believe Tiki, his loyal dog, was curled up next to him trying to keep him warm. He was rushed to a hospital in Springfield, where his mom and sister hurried to be by his side. His prognosis was grim. Chris had suffered a close-range injury to the head. Doctors performed a craniotomy to relieve swelling on his brain and removed some fragments, but the remaining fragments were lodged in an area too dangerous to remove. Chris's mom and sister received devastating news. If Chris survived, he would never walk, talk, or even smile again. Doctors placed him in a medically induced coma, hoping to give his brain and body the time they needed to heal. Meanwhile, police began investigating the scene and quickly realized a third person was involved, as the weapon was missing. They discovered 2 silver 9mm shell casings, a burnt pizza in the oven, the fridge pulled away from the wall, and some chairs knocked over. It appeared that Chris and Leslie were in the kitchen cooking when someone came to the back door. In a desperate attempt to keep the intruder out, Chris and Leslie tried to block the door with the fridge. The intruder fired through the door, hitting Chris. Entering the house, the intruder then chased Leslie into the living room and fatally shot her. When police questioned Chris's mom and sister about anyone who might want to harm Chris, they were at a loss. Chris had no known enemies. Turning to Leslie's friends and family, the police asked the same question. Nanette and another friend, Amy, immediately thought of one person, Robert Tarr, known as Bobby. They said, a few weeks before Leslie's tragic death, she had been on another first date and Bobby showed up afterward. She texted her friend Amy, expressing her fear, saying, "I could be in danger if I don't cut all contact." Amy told the police that she never felt comfortable around Bobby and that Leslie was genuinely afraid of him. On Thanksgiving night, police arrived at Bobby's home in Collinsville. Surprisingly, he didn't question their presence and willingly went to the police station for questioning. When asked about Leslie, Bobby claimed they were still in a relationship. Upon hearing of Leslie's death, Bobby's lack of emotion struck the police as odd.
Okay. Leslie is dead.
What?
Can you help me shed some light on this?
How did she die?
She was murdered.
What happened?
That's why we're here with you. You help me believe that you're not involved in this.
I'm not involved in anything.
They continued to question him about his whereabouts the night before Thanksgiving. Bobby stated he visited a friend's house to pick up some money and returned home around 6:30 p.m., staying there the rest of the night with his 17-year-old daughter, Shelby. However, when police questioned Shelby, she revealed that her dad left home twice that night. The first time was around 6:30, and he returned around 7 p.m. He left again and came back a couple of hours later, crying and saying he missed Leslie. Shelby fell asleep shortly before 10 p.m. but woke up around 2:45 a.m. to the sound of her dad doing laundry and pacing around the house. Bobby told her he couldn't sleep. Shelby also mentioned that her dad owned 2 guns, a black one and a small green one. She had seen the green gun in her dad's sock drawer that morning, but it was no longer there. When confronted with the inconsistencies in his story, Bobby changed his narrative, claiming he had visited his friend's house twice that night but was home by 8 p.m. However, police had obtained CCTV evidence showing Bobby's 2013 Volkswagen Jetta on multiple traffic cameras between Collinsville and Farmersville on the night of the incident. One camera captured his license plate at a gas station near Troy shortly after midnight. When confronted with the gas station receipt, Bobby claimed he didn't remember getting gas that night, but downplayed its significance. With multiple lies and digital evidence placing him at the scene, Bobby was arrested for murder and attempted murder. In response, Bobby concocted a new story, alleging that Leslie had asked him to follow her to Farmersville in case her van broke down. Nanette and Amy doubted this story, knowing Leslie was afraid of Bobby and wouldn't ask him for such a favor. Bobby insisted he had followed her to Chris's house, parked in front of her van, and then left without returning to Farmersville. While the police were building their case against Bobby Tarr, Chris lay in a hospital bed in a medically induced coma. His mom and sister stayed faithfully by his bedside, holding his hand, talking to him and singing to him. Chris suffered 3 strokes while in the hospital and didn't wake up until early January 2022.
It's my Christmas present. Yes, that he's awake and he's fighting.
Despite being permanently paralyzed on his left side, Chris refused to let it hold him back. He relearned how to walk, talk, and perform basic everyday tasks like brushing his teeth. He spent hours in the gym, regaining strength and working with physical and occupational therapists. Though he still uses a wheelchair, he can walk with a cane and has far exceeded the doctor's expectations. It's been a long, hard road. I lost my life and now I've got to start all over again. I'm taking baby steps. The everyday things I miss are working in my yard, tending to my garden, being with my daughter every afternoon after school. I want to be able to run, golf, and throw a football without falling down like I did the other day. Just everyday things we take for granted. In 2022, an inmate came forward with a startling claim. Bobby had paid him $110,000 to kill Chris and the lead investigator on the case, Jeff Roach. As a result, Bobby was charged with 2 counts of solicitation of murder. He denied the charges, insisting he had only loaned the inmate $10,000 for bail. Bobby's trial began in April 2024. Chris chose not to attend, knowing he couldn't sit quietly in the courtroom. Chris moved into his mom's house in St. Louis. Despite the challenges, he earned the nickname Unstoppable Chris. Unable to care for Tiki anymore, she moved in with people he knew, but Chris visits her often, calling her his furry angel. Chris's life was drastically changed by a man he didn't even know. He took her life, shot me, left me for dead, and all I did was meet her for a beer. I just don't get it. I was simply trying to go out on a date. I'm very angry this happened. One evil man took it all from me. Bobby failed to kill Chris that night, underestimating Chris's fighting spirit. I'm winning, Bobby Tarr, Chris says. He advises people to never take anything for granted. Enjoy every second of life with your kids and loved ones, because in the blink of an eye, it can all be gone. The hardest part of Chris's recovery is not being able to see his 12-year-old daughter as much as he used to. Living 2 hours away and unable to drive. Chris began singing again with his rock and roll band. In 2023, he began a relationship with Michelle, and in October 2024, during a band performance, Chris proposed to Michelle. She loves and accepts me the way I am even after everything that happened. It is nothing short of a miracle that Chris is alive today. He lay on that floor for 13 hours with his loyal dog by his side. Chris continues to work on regaining his strength and has even received some stem cell transplants, hoping to one day walk without a cane. Chris has created a website, become a motivational speaker, and is writing a book to help others overcome personal and professional struggles. He also supports crime survivors and individuals with traumatic brain injuries, turning his adversity into a mission to help others. Although there's limited information about how Leslie's family is coping, it's understood that her sons now live full-time with their father. They are young and have to grow up without their mother. Leslie had a passion for teaching women about safety and helping them escape abusive situations. It is both ironic and deeply unfair that she lost her life to domestic violence. Her children, as well as all those she touched, deeply miss her laugh and smile. Leslie fought hard for the safety of others, making the way her life ended an even greater tragedy. Her life was cut way too short at 45. Bobby Tarr's trial began in April 2024, with the prosecution presenting a compelling case against Bobby. They laid out a timeline of events, showing how Bobby had followed Leslie to Chris's home and attempted to break in. The digital evidence was particularly damning. Traffic cameras had captured Bobby's car en route to Chris's home, and his phone records showed searches for Chris Smith and attempts to locate his Facebook profile. The jury deliberated for 3 hours before finding Bobby guilty on all charges. The judge sentenced him to 85 years in prison with 50 years for firearm enhancements, 25 years for Leslie's murder, and 10 years for Chris's attempted murder. Bobby is still awaiting trial for the solicitation of murder charges, adding to his already lengthy sentence. As we remember Leslie, we also honor her legacy by speaking out against domestic violence and striving to create a safer world. Chris's resilience, strength, and unwavering positive mindset stand as a testament to the power of the human spirit, inspiring us all to face adversity with courage and determination. Thank you for watching today's episode. If you found this story impactful, please like, comment, and subscribe to help me continue sharing these important stories. Until my next video, stay informed, stay safe, and look after your loved ones.